Have you ever wondered why the United States has two separate states, North Dakota and South Dakota, instead of just one unified Dakota? Looking at a map, these two states appear as a single block with no natural boundaries to clearly separate them. They share a similar landscape, a strong rural culture, and a common territorial history. So, what led to the division of this large, seemingly homogeneous land? The story behind this split is not simply a matter of drawing a line on a map. It was a complex process influenced by economic development, the advent of railroads, and especially shrewd political calculations. This video will delve into that entire historical process, from a unified Dakota territory to the birth of two independent states. Comment 1 if you just learned today that Dakota was once a single territory, and 2 if you already knew this fact. Development of the Dakota Territory. The Dakota Territory came into existence in 1861, carved out of the larger Nebraska Territory, at a time when the United States was rapidly expanding westward. Initially, it covered a vast and loosely organized frontier that stretched far beyond the borders of today's Dakotas, incorporating portions of what are now Montana and Wyoming. The territory was sparsely populated, dominated by the Dakota Sioux and other indigenous nations who had long lived on the land, while only small clusters of fur traders, missionaries, and soldiers represented American settlement. Over the following years, the U.S. government established forts, administrative posts, and land surveys to bring order to this expansive frontier. Treaties gradually pushed native communities off their ancestral lands, making way for incoming settlers. Railroads became the backbone of development, offering not only transportation but also new towns, farms, and markets along their routes. By the late 1862, as neighboring territories like Wyoming and Montana were separated out, Dakota's borders began to resemble those of the modern states. Socially, the territory was marked by a striking mix of cultures and lifestyles. Indigenous groups striving to defend their homelands, homesteaders carving out farms, and prospectors chasing opportunities in the Black Hills gold rush of the 1872. Churches, schools, and newspapers soon followed, giving the region the hallmarks of permanent settlement. As more settlers arrived, Dakota Territory transitioned from a remote outpost on the frontier into a structured society with growing towns, local governance, and a budding sense of regional identity. By the 1882, although still legally a single territory, Dakota had developed into a vibrant region that was no longer simply a wilderness but a dynamic frontier society, poised for the next step toward statehood. Reason for separate. The division of Dakota Territory into North Dakota and South Dakota was the result of a combination of demographic, economic, and political factors. By the 1872 and 1882, the southern portion of the territory had grown much faster, with a population that nearly reached 100,000 compared to fewer than 40, 0-inch the north. This demographic imbalance gave the South greater political influence and a stronger push toward statehood. Economically, the two regions were oriented in different directions. The North maintained closer ties with Minneapolis-St. Paul, while the South was connected to Sioux City, Omaha, and Chicago. These separate trade networks reinforced a sense of regional identity. Political disputes further fueled division, most notably when Territorial Governor Nehemiah Ordway moved the capital from Yankton in the south to Bismarck in the north in 1883, angering Southern residents and intensifying calls for separation. By 1887, a territorial referendum confirmed majority support for splitting Dakota, and with congressional approval through the Enabling Act of 1889, the long-standing tensions culminated in the creation of two separate states. Why both states kept the name Dakota? Despite the division, both North and South chose to retain the name Dakota when they entered the Union in 1889. The name, derived from the Dakota Sioux people who had long inhabited the region, carried significant historical and cultural meaning. By the late 19th century, Dakota had also become a well-established identity and brand for the territory, recognized across the United States. Leaders in both the North and South believed that keeping the name would preserve this recognition and legitimacy, much like other prominent state names such as California or Florida. Although alternative names such as Pembina or Lincoln were briefly considered for the northern state, the strong symbolic value and familiarity of Dakota ensured that it was retained by both states after the split. Current similarity. Despite the historical political decision that split them, North Dakota and South Dakota remain remarkably similar in almost every fundamental aspect, as if they were still a single, unified territory. Both states are defined by their low population density and overwhelmingly rural character. This isn't just a statistical fact, it's a way of life. Small towns are the heart of the community, where neighbors know each other and a sense of shared values, rooted in hard work and self-reliance, is paramount. Demographically, the states are nearly identical, with a strong ethnic heritage that traces back to Northern Europe, particularly German and Norwegian immigrants who were drawn to the region's vast farmlands. This shared heritage and the close-knit nature of their communities give both Dakotas a distinct yet unified cultural feel. The economies of both states are built on the same two core industries: agriculture and energy. As part of the Great Plains, both are agricultural powerhouses, producing massive amounts of wheat, corn, and soybeans, while livestock farming remains a crucial part of their economies. While both have an energy sector, they focus on slightly different resources. North Dakota has experienced a massive oil boom from the Bakken Formation, making it a major energy producer. South Dakota's energy sector is more focused on ethanol and wind power, but the overall economic reliance on natural resources is a strong common thread. Perhaps the most surprising similarity is their political alignment. Despite having separate governments, both states are consistently and reliably conservative, forming a key part of the Republican Party's base. Geographically, the two states are almost indistinguishable. Both are dominated by the vast rolling landscapes of the Great Plains, with no major natural barriers separating them. The Missouri River flows through both, a shared lifeline for agriculture and wildlife. Their climates are also twins, defined by extreme seasons, brutally cold, long winters, and hot, humid summers. This shared environment dictates the rhythm of life and the challenges faced by their residents. The history of the Dakotas is a fascinating example of how the growth of population, divergent trade routes, and political disputes can shape the destiny of an entire region. What started as a single, expansive territory in the mid-19th century gradually split into two communities with different economic ties and political aspirations. The decision to divide Dakota Territory was not made overnight. It was the result of years of demographic imbalance, conflicts over governance, and a desire for more equitable representation. Yet, despite their differences, both North Dakota and South Dakota chose to retain the name Dakota, preserving a shared identity that spoke to their common heritage. Today, the two states coexist as neighbors with distinct characters but an intertwined past, reminding us that history is rarely as simple as lines on a map. The story of the Dakotas is ultimately one of unity through division, a testament to how regional identity can endure even in the face of political separation. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this video, smash that like button, subscribe, and turn on the notification bell so you won't miss the next history deep dive. And tell us in the comments, which Dakota would you rather live in, North or South?